What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Tax Practice Revolution, where we help you revolutionize your tax business, which really means let's transform it to something that you're proud of, something that makes you money, and something that you can grow forever so you can live a life full of freedom. My name is David, your host here. I am a tax professional just like you who has changed and transformed, revolutionized my practice to become an advisor. And every month I help advisors all across this country grow and scale their business, and I want to help you too. Because what I know today, it's more important than ever to stand out, look different, and help you and your clients both win at the same time. In today's episode, I'm going to be showing you, talking too fast here, how to maximize your practice and help you get that client engagement up so you can maximize every client and help make more money while you help them save more money. So, before I begin, let's just kind of talk a few things through, right? Helping clients, right? That's the number one goal. I really want this to come across the right way. We can talk about how we can make more money per client, but the problem that we face is if we want to make more money, we've got to be able to add more value. Now, value is what somebody believes something is worth. And so when you do a service or perform a service for a client, what you're asking that client to do is in exchange, give you money, some of this, right? They got to give you some of this. And in order for them to give you some of this, they have to believe what you're doing is valuable. And a lot of the times we like to define or describe our services as things that we're going to do instead of the benefits that they're going to get. So today I want to talk to you about how you go from doing stuff to showing the benefits of things. And so that you can articulate your value, which means what they believe it's worth, to a higher degree so that when you ask for more money, they're like, here you go, right? Here you go. So let's go to the blue board. You ready? Let's go. All right. So like I mentioned before, the goal, man, I'm glowing. The goal here is to establish yourself as a more valuable person. And today, what we like to describe ourselves as is either an accountant, a bookkeeper, a CPA, or a tax professional. Whatever you define yourself as or identify is really how the clients perceive you. Right? So if you say bookkeeper, they think bookkeeping. You say tax preparer, they think tax preparation. You say accountant, they think accounting. They think CPA, they think, well, probably tax preparer. Unfortunately, that's what they believe. And so how you define yourself is really a good correlation of how people see you, and how you define your service is a good way how people believe what you're doing is for them. So when I say to somebody today, for an example, I'm going to provide bookkeeping, okay? This is really important. I want you to get this, right? You're a bookkeeping client, right? Well, what do you think what people think about bookkeeping? Do they think excitement? Do they think, wow, this is so cool? Do they think about it as something that is needed and warranted and they absolutely have to have every month? Maybe there's a small subset. If we did this, right? If we did an 80-20, you ever heard of this principle? The 80-20 principle, that 80% of the people don't care and the other 20% do. Well, you're probably dealing with the same principle, meaning if you had 10 clients, 8 of them are like, just do what I pay you, and the other 20 are like, hey, I need that data, right? We already know that. And the problem that we have is the reason that the 80% here don't care is because we define it as bookkeeping. So how you label something is how somebody sees it. So instead of selling bookkeeping, you don't want to sell bookkeeping. You want to sell reporting, decision-making, metrics, margins. What all that really means is, I want to show you the financial health of your business. I don't bookkeep. I show you the health, the financial health of your business. Why is this important? Because now I think about it in a different way. Now I, as the buyer, if you're offering it to me, start seeing it as, maybe I need to give you my information so you could show me the health. And then if you could define health for them, imagine what that looks like. You see, this is the difference between bookkeeping and helping somebody grow their business. Now, a lot of people would say, well, this is kind of like CFO type work. I'm like, well, if it is, then bookkeeping is obsolete because nobody wants bookkeeping. People want to know that their numbers, and not everybody does because they don't understand that there is a defined health. So for an example, when you meet a client, you would say, oh, what kind of business? They say roofing, and you'd say, well, for roofers, I could do bookkeeping. I don't want you to do bookkeeping. I want you to give them the health of their business. So then what you could do is you could go and you could study and find out what is the margin meaning the amount of money that they get to keep per transaction that nets, right? The 20%, the 30%, the 40%, whatever their margins are nationally for roofers. And then I use that as my benchmark for health. And so that whenever I get all their financial data on a monthly basis, I then reconcile it in whatever bookkeeping software you use. And then at the end of the month, I tell you how healthy you are. And the grade of health, let's say, is 30% or greater. And so then I tell my client, hey, by the way, good month, man, you healthy. What's that mean? You made more than 30% this month. Ain't that cool? Yeah, cool. Now, do you like this kind of stuff? Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm going to help you with this health score every single month. And he's like, really? I mean, you're going to do that? Absolutely. So when I was doing bookkeeping, I was charging $300. Now that I'm not doing bookkeeping, I'm charging $1,000. I just made the same client pay me 3 and almost a third more for the same service I was going to do anyways. So now I've labeled myself a health coach. No, I don't want to be a health coach. I've actually become what I call an advisor. Why? Because advisors don't bookkeep. They give insights. They develop a pattern. Now, do I want to just be a bookkeeping advisor? No, I want to be a tax advisor. You see, the way you get more money per client isn't because you ask for it, because you deserve it. No, you become more valuable. And imagine if you've had a client for 10 years. Okay, that's pretty extreme. Let's say 3 years paying you $300 a month, and you're like, as much as I love talking to this client, as much as I love working with this client, $300, man, it doesn't even cover the payroll, doesn't even cover the time, the energy, and the technology I use to serve you. You're right. If you're charging $300, let me just tell you, you're not making any money. You and I know that. And unfortunately, that's the national average for bookkeeping for most clients. And so you're $300 at a time. Think about that. Like, how many clients do you have to have per month to actually make real money? You have to at least have 30 to make 9,000. And don't get me wrong, 9,000 isn't chump change, but 9 times 12. What is that, 108,000? Okay, so if you're a solopreneur with 30 accounts, you're clearing 6 figures. You subtract a 30% margin, costs, you're probably making 70 grand. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, it's not because that's not enough money. But you and I know it's not enough money because you still have to do all the work, because if you hired one person, you cut your income in half. And that's what's going to happen. So how do you become more valuable to the 30? You get them to pay you $1,000, and now you make $300,000. Now you've got one person working for you, same expenses, but one person working for you, and you're making $150,000 to $200,000 net profit with the same 30 clients. Man, I'm getting so excited here. Let me get some water. You see, let's come over here real quick. Let's go this way. You see, you become more valuable to your clients based on what you can perform. So now imagine it this way. You guys with me? Drop it in the chat. If you guys are with me, drop it in the chat. Now, imagine now instead of, right? And thank you for commenting. Instead of you doing this just for bookkeeping or other services, you did this for tax. So imagine a client comes to you currently to file their tax return. And that tax return currently, you file it, and let's say they owe a little bit of taxes, or let's say you're helping them and they don't owe taxes, but they should have owed, but now because of your energy, efforts, and expertise, they don't owe either anything or lower than they would have owed. Now you have the opportunity to showcase your value again. You see, now instead of saying, oh, well, I'm just going to do this and it's $1,500 to file the return, now we can ask the client to go deeper with us, and we can showcase our value by saying, hey, I'd like to offer you this new service. It's kind of like what I did with you on the health of your business by margin. Now I want to show you how we can save taxes so you don't have to pay them again. And then we begin that process through what I call an assessment. Now assessments, let's go back to the board real quick. An assessment, let me write this down, and if you're in the chat, drop the word assessment. An assessment is truly what we want to do for all of our clients, because what it does, it allows us to get to know our clients at a deeper level. And many of you may think you know your clients, and I believe you do. Like, I truly believe you know them. Unfortunately, there's a lot more to tax planning than just knowing them and filing their returns. You have to know about their investments. You have to know about their retirement accounts. You have to know about their marital status. Now, a lot of this is determined on the tax return. I'm not saying that none of that is there. You probably have about 80% of the information. There's about 20% of the information you don't have. You don't know what their ambitions are, their retirement plans are. You don't know about outside investments. They may have not disclosed to you. So you have about 80% of the information, but what about the other 20? Well, you need that 20 to be able to prepare an assessment. An assessment is a review, right, and analysis of their tax situation. And with that information, then you create the assessment. And the assessment finds savings, okay? It finds the savings that they need on their taxes. Now, with this idea in mind, what I want you to do is think about it this way. When you go to a doctor, the doctor does not just prescribe you anything. They ask you questions, they get to know you, they review your charts, they review your past medical history, they review x-rays or labs of what may be wrong with you, and then they do a diagnosis and a prescription. Many of us are not acting this way in our business, and we should treat ourselves like doctors. The only way we can help somebody is by understanding their unique situation, learning about past conditions, looking at history, and then determining what best course of action comes from that, using our professional opinions. Because we do that, what we do is we establish ourselves as a professional, which becomes more valuable to the client. This is why we could charge more. We become more valuable because we look, feel, discuss, review like a professional. This is what we want to do. We want to become the professionals that they know, like, and trust. So when we do that, then we become more valuable. And when we ask for this assessment, we then can charge something like $2,500, which is what I charge to do. And once we do that, now we can prepare the assessment, show them the savings, and then execute those saving strategies throughout a given year. That's what an advisor does, just like we did. Now, I don't offer this as a, oh, let me do an assessment. It is a tax saving strategy that I execute for you. It is an advisor role, not a bookkeeper role, not a tax pro role, not a CPA role. I am a tax advisor to you. That's how we roll, guys. And this is how you become more valuable. This isn't making up hooey. This is, I'm already doing it. So let's go back to one more service, right? Like, let's think about, like, let's just go back to the bookkeeping because it was the easiest to use for you. Everybody does, or at least has thought about bookkeeping. All I'm doing is not calling it bookkeeping, right? I'm not calling it bookkeeping, right? I'm going to call it planning. I'm going to call it another name. I'm going to call it planning. I'm going to call it strategy. I'm going to call it CFO. You see, all CFO services are bookkeeping information correlated into reports that help people make decisions. That's what CFOs do. Tax advisors gather information, correlate that information into a report, utilize the report to make decisions. Future, it's the same thing. The difference is when you say it in that context. When I say I'm a CFO, when I say I'm a tax advisor, I get to charge 10 times more than what I did before. Or in our illustration earlier, 3.5 times more. This is how you become more valuable. Does that all make sense? Like, I want to help you become more valuable. You get this? Like, you should be making so much more money. If you like this and you like content like this, just so you know, I do a webinar. It's up and coming. I want to invite you to. I'll drop the link down below. If you want to come check it out, I teach you how to become an advisor. We talk about how to increase your fees so you can charge what you're worth, how to find ideal customers who will pay for things like this, and then how and what strategies you can use as an advisor. If you want access to that, it's free. You can click on that below. If not, every week I come to you live with Tax Practice Revolution where you can get insights like this, totally free, no pressure, no content. Just comment below if you like this stuff or tell me what you want me to teach or learn or get from me. I'd love to know and what you thought about this video. Please comment in the sections below. It makes me feel so good to know that what we're teaching and what I'm sharing helped you grow your business, okay? So, as always, I wish you health, wealth, success, and I'll see you in our next episode of Tax Practice Revolution.